Hello and welcome back. You're doing VRC 1000 with me, Jijo. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kickstart with the skills lessons of verbal ability. And we will start with paragraph jumbles. I think this is one of those areas where you have a lot of problem. A lot of people say that paragraph jumble is so yucky and say, it's very difficult thing to do, but stick with me and you will find that paragraph jumble is actually fun and we can actually get almost all the questions correct. We're going to start, ladies and gentlemen, with understanding coherence. What does that even mean? So this is what we're going to learn, ladies and gentlemen. We will understand the basic skill set required to tackle paragraph jumble. I'm talking about basic skill set. I'm sure that there are a lot of things that can help. People can give strategy number 1, strategy 2, strategy 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But what I want to first discuss is those fundamental things that we need to get in place. So once we have that, everything else is built around that. We need to understand the basic skill set. That's number 1. And when I talk about tackling paragraph jumbles, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about tackling it from the perspective of the CAT. And the CAT questions, ladies and gentlemen, has got is a type in the answer question or the non-MCQ, whatever you want to call it, theta or non-MCQ, wherein you actually have to type in the order 1, 3, 4, 2, something like that. You have to actually type in the order, and unlike other paragraph jumble question, other exams where 4 options are given to us, and in same way 1 3 4 2 1 4 2 3 2 3 1 4 2 3 4 1. Here we are the options kind of helps us in a lot of ways. We, for example, they can either start with a 1 or a 2, or we are eventually looking at is it 1 after 3, 1 after 3, or is it 3 after 1, 3 after 1. So we just have to eliminate those specific 4 things that is given to us, but unfortunately in the CAT perspective that is not given. We have to figure out the order ourselves. So tackling paragraph jumble in CAT therefore is slightly more different than other exams. The second thing, of course, is how the question setter created the paragraph jumble question. Obviously they are picking from some source material where there is a paragraph, and the CAT has actually taken those paragraph and jumbled and given to you in some order. But we must also understand how these questions are created. Is it like a direct copy, ladies and gentlemen, of whatever is given in the source, or is the question creator also doing some edits to the source to make our life difficult? And I hope that you remember some of the lessons that we did earlier in the 101 lessons. We had a lesson on VA insights. We also had a lesson on paragraph structure as well. I hope you remember certain things, because some of the things that we discussed there is going to be very handy when it comes to dealing with paragraph jumbles. So in the session flow, ladies and gentlemen, simple. We'll get to know and then we'll look at 2 skills. Skill number 1 and skill number 2, the very basic skills that we need to tackle this paragraph jumble, and then we'll end with the learning. And we'll start with get to know, and to get to know we have to remember things. Remember certain things that we did earlier. So if you remember 101 lesson on paragraph structure, we talked about a paragraph having 3 basic property: cohesion, all the paragraph is connected to one single idea, one unity needs to be there. Coherence, paragraph is not random sentences, random collection of sentences. There has to be a flow of thought and ideas. Development, there has to be some sense of development in terms of how the topic is developed. Adequately, that topic has to be developed in that particular paragraph. That's something that we learn, and the reason why you have paragraph, because the author wants to talk about one particular idea, new paragraph. And then we also looked at, ladies and gentlemen, certain echo words, something that helps us in understanding what the paragraph is all about. In this, for example, we had in that lesson, in the same lesson, I think this is again the paragraph structure lesson. If you remember, ladies and gentlemen, we looked at this one. The hope is a word that getting echoed. The patient is another word that got echoed, and something about a better world tomorrow, a fallible future, ethical ideal, something about a future is also mentioned. This thing, the echo word kind of helps us, ladies and gentlemen, understand the passage. This is a paragraph story. This is what we learned. We also learned in that lesson about transition links, words and phrases that help carry. And in this particular thing, we learned, for example, here, although, instead, for example, instead. These are all the transition link. And I've already told in that lesson, it's going to help us in paragraph jumble. Pronoun link, it, they, them, so on and so forth, is also going to help us in understanding in paragraph jumble. But in the insights lesson, we did a lesson on verbal ability inside and told you how the question setter creates this question. In that, we understood something very important. This is I had taken one source material from CAT 2018 and one from CAT 2019. This is a question that got created, and this, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember what the original source of the material, and what you see is that the green sentence in the first line is connected there. This particular sentence is I don't have that color. Oh, why did I pick that color? Oh, what is blue? I have blue. This blue is connected there, and then you have that, whatever that color. I don't have a color. Let me go with this color now, and the yellow is connected there. But we also understood one other thing is that there are certain things that got deleted. We chose them, it got deleted. This particular part of the thing got deleted. This particular part got deleted, which means the question creator is not blindly taking the source material and giving us in order. They're also making some correction. That's also something that we've seen in CAT 2019 as well. This part got deleted, this part got deleted, and certain parts are getting deleted when they actually give the paragraph. And also we learned that is actually, this is the paragraph ended there and a new paragraph actually started, but this is kind of presented to us like a paragraph jumble question. Siren, ladies and gentlemen, siren. COVID-19 times. This is what we hear every single day. I hope the person is fine. I hope you guys are fine. I am fine, and let's continue with the lesson. So this is something that, so we have to understand from this thing. So if you forgot what we had discussed, then let me go back and do what in memory. Let's relook at the same thing that we discussed then. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the source material again, and this is the question that got created, and the color, it's been color coded to say that where it has been picked. And then you see that these other sentences that was not picked from the original source, and in those the part which is not picked from the original source, they did not pick things like this, for instance, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is you have a question setter. You're almost asking the question setter, why the question setter is almost like you're asking the question, why did you do that? Because if you had given me the for instance here, and if I had solved these questions, I would have seen the for instance and immediately would know, without reading any of these content here, I would know that this particular is a specific example that is being given here. So this was enough for me. This for instance was enough for me to identify this particular sentence to be a specific example question. Therefore, for knowing for sure, the idea got introduced in number 1. At some point after that, 3 should come. I know for sure the 3 cannot be, for example, the start for this particular paragraph. If I had known, for example, that there is a for instance there. But what did they do? They removed the for instance, which means, how do I even understand this would have been an example? For me to understand this in example, I cannot now rely on the transition word, which would have really helped me. I had to actually read this sentence and make sense of it, ladies and gentlemen, which means while transition links are important, and transition link alone cannot help us handle the paragraph jumble question that is given to us, which means we also need to look at or clearly understand the logical flow of idea, something that I discussed during the paragraph structure chapter lesson that we did in 101 lessons, ladies and gentlemen, we did in that particular chapter, and said that how does general idea to specific cases, premise to conclusion, concept example, problem to solution, what is a logical flow of idea? If I can understand the logical flow of idea, if I can understand that, and that, ladies and gentlemen, would really help me do well in paragraph jumble. And that brings us to our first skill. This first skill that is needed, therefore, is to understand what I'm going to call a sentence function. What is the role of a particular sentence? Every sentence is being created for a particular role, and we did quite a bit of things in the while we delve with passages. We discussed that there are these red signal, there is yellow signals, and there are the green signal. So something that we used quite a bit when we did paragraph when we read a passage there. So it is in one way very similar to that. Is one way very similar to that. Understand that we understand certain functions of particular sentence, very similar to that. It's just that we have to understand this sentence function in a much more detailed fashion. Let's have a look at this particular paragraph which I've taken from Smithsonian Magazine. You can probably go read. I've given the article a name. You can probably type that and read it if you want to read it. Read that article, ladies and gentlemen. This is a paragraph I picked right from the middle. So one more thing that I must tell you at this point in time, the paragraph from the middle paragraph has a different style than the introductory paragraph and the concluding paragraph. We'll deal that separately, but let's just take this particular paragraph and read and understand what each sentence is talking about and what is probably would be the role of each sentence. Let's read this. Method acting is experiential. To do well, actors need to construct an often fragile bridge between their own emotions and their characters. Actors who excel at method acting tend to seek out different experiences, and the method, as it is also known, now has a bad reputation of licensing some actors substance abuse and even violence. Journalist and stage director Isaac Butler, author of a forthcoming book on the topic, points out that defining the method is tricky business. There is no consensus definition of the method. He told me in an interview it shifts over time pretty radically. Ladies and gentlemen, now you have these 5 sentences. What do you think is the role of each of these sentences? If this was what I'm in a reading comprehension passage, and probably what we'd have done is you would have probably said, sir, this first sentence is to me where the author is saying method acting is experiential. That's what the author wants to explore, and the author talks about do well, what we need to do, and also our author talked about now has a bad reputation as well. So they actually have to bridge between emotions and their own characters. By doing so, that kind of gives license to people to do some substance abuse because the character did the substance abuse because they want to be method acting, they want to experience their emotions, such a thing. And then we'll also would have said that sure, this is an example. These 2 lines are the green signal which we discussed, ladies and gentlemen, always, and this is what probably would have done. Those are just justification for and making the stage that method I experience, and this actually talking about the fact that it is a tricky thing to do. So all that is basically saying that it's experiential, method acting, something experience. This is what probably what we would have done when it comes to reading comprehension, and we would have moved on. But when it comes to paragraph jumble, these sentences would be jumbled and given to us, and we have to kind of unjumble it, put in the right order. Therefore, this, ladies and gentlemen, may not in itself be enough. Understand red, green, yellow may not itself be enough. We have to understand sentence function. What is the sentence function I'm talking about? And these are the sentence function. What is the role of the sentence? I'm not talking about sentence function from a grammatical point of view where you would have learned interrogative sentence, declarative sentence, and so on and so forth. That's not my point. My point in terms of when the author presents an idea, what is the role that each sentence does? One would be those kind of sentences which are this topic sentence. It can be either the main point or the summary that the author wants to say. The topic sentence simply has the thesis state sentence, so does this thesis of the paragraph or the main idea the author wants to say in that particular paragraph. What is the idea of that particular paragraph in itself? We always learn that whenever you have a passage which got multiple paragraphs, each of the paragraph has got a main idea, and all these are connected together to form the structure of the passage. Now, when we are still looking at just one paragraph somewhere from there, we are actually looking interested what is that topic sentence. One of the sentence would be that topic sentence, and this usually would be our red signal. And there can be another sentence which actually explains the topic sentence. These are kind of sentences which support the main idea, explains what is given there. That's explanation sentence. And there could be actually sentences which author would have given, which is transition, change in tone, or general to specific, moving from one point specific. There are two eyes there. Sorry, you should have just one eye. Specific. Oops. Specific. No, Jijo. Specific. Only one eye. You have two eyes. But this has only one eye. What am I talking? Let's get back, ladies and gentlemen, to the discussion here. Some stupid spelling mistake I made there. Oops. Okay. Anyways, let's carry on. So transition are those sentences which says on the contrary or however. So something is being mentioned, and then author wants to do some sort of a transition, may add on to something, or want to negate something. Something that could be a role of that particular sentence is to kind of move from one point to another one. You could also use indicator transition words to create the transition, but I'm saying in the whole the sentence is transitioning into something else the author wants to say. Another thing that author can give evidences, for example, specific detail that supports the main idea. A particular detail is given to support the idea. It is kind of different from the explanation. Explanation is just explaining what that main idea is in little more detail, and then you have evidences, specific evidences to support that. And there could be an explanation of the evidence, explain how the evidence relates to the idea. Once you put the evidence, the evidence needs to be explained. It is not necessary that the sentence will have all the paragraph will have all these 5 sentences, but you will find for sure these two are usually you will have a topic sentence, you will obviously have the explanation. The rest is up to the author in terms of how well the author wants to develop the topic. Understanding this, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at this particular one. So let's see each one. Method acting experiential. So you see the method acting experiential, that would be, ladies and gentlemen, the topic sentence number 1. That's a topic. To do well, actors need to. So what is experiential in this case? It has been explained here. To do well, what does that mean? Actors need to construct a bridge between experiential, their own emotions, experience. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is actually my explanation to that topic sentence that is given to me. Don't you see that, ladies and gentlemen? What about 3? Actors who excel in the method learning tend to seek out different experiences, and method, as it used, also known, now has a bad reputation for licensing some actors. So I'll probably say that bad reputation, which probably will say that it's either getting into the so author may want to transition into what is bad about it, though we don't see that after that author is not discussing what is bad about method acting, but author is merely making. So I will probably want to see that this also is a part of number 3, is a part of the explanation as well. Though in some, so there is a bad reputation. Maybe moving from a positive to negative, but I don't see that further transition into the other things that the author has said here. But therefore, I'm just going to leave it to explanation. Let's look at what is number 4. Journalist and stage director, I think all the forthcoming book points out that defining the method is very difficult. This experience defining is difficult, and evidence is given evidence in terms of here as a specific detail is given here. That will be number 4, which is the evidence that is there. And then the last sentence, there is no consistent definition of the method, he told me, which means that is explanation of that particular evidence. So you see that is order. I'm not saying that every passage must follow this order, but it's usually good to have that order. It must follow this particular order, but usually you'll find the topic sentence right in the beginning always. That is how usually I'm using the word usually, please understand, usually a good paragraph is usually written in the manner that the author always, like always, the author is always a friend, ladies and gentlemen. The author is always a friend. Author wants to help all his reader. Author loves his reader. Author loves his reader. Author loves his reader. Readers, all the people who read the stuff will have to read after that and say that author, what an awesome author you are. Therefore, author is always trying to help the reader. If the author wants to help the reader. Okay. Author wants to help the reader, ladies and gentlemen. Author should say in the beginning, right? I once I remember that back in my school days, my teacher gave me a structure of an essay. What is a good structure of an essay? And you've heard about structure of essay saying that intro, body, conclusion, and conclusion. I remember my teacher giving a good structure. That is first, tell them what you want to say. Tell them what you want to say. First, you tell them what you want to say, then you say it, then you tell them what you just said. Amazing structure. Saying that first you tell them what you want to say, then you say it, and you tell them what you just said. So your introduction, so basically saying that this is where you say that I really don't want to confuse the reader. I really don't want to confuse. I want the moment the reader reads, you very clearly understand what the author is. So you almost always the author starts with that kind of idea. This may change. For example, if it's an introductory paragraph, the very first paragraph, then in the very first paragraph, usually some people start with a hook to kind of clickbait to catch you in, and probably some mysteries. But usually in the middle paragraph, you see that this is what the structure is. Anyways, I hope you get a sense. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the CAT 2018 slot 1 question. Look at each of the sentence. You can probably pause it and put it in terms of which sentence goes where, ladies and gentlemen. Which sentence goes where. Okay. Pause it and try it. So you would say which sentence and topic sentence, what is the role of each of the sentences? Let's start with this first one. Impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can call all sorts of industries, even if transparently implemented. You're almost going, sir, this has to be a topic sentence. Amazing sentence, good sentence. You would say, okay, that's a topic sentence. It encourages us into bubbles of people that we live. So it encourages us into bubbles. This is kind of an explaining the whole topic. I don't know whether it's going to explain, whether it's explanation of the topic sentence, or is going to be explanation of the evidence. One of them is going to be, it probably explains that. Okay, I don't know. Both has got explanation. It is explaining some concept. We don't know. We leave that at that. And Twitter website says, why would say Twitter website says that said something very specific, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the evidence that is being provided here. So now this will be number 3. It's for sure I can place number 3 as an evidence that is given here, because it talks about Twitter website, and this is a very general as an idea that the author wants to say. This is very specific detail the author is saying, as which means the specific detail is going to act as an evidence that the author is presenting to justify the idea. Please understand this evidence in a premise kind of way. Remember, we learned critical CR for RC, critical reasoning for RC. In that we learned about premise. Think of evidence as premise. Okay, so that's I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Anyway, the last one, we are not only told there's some basic principle, we can see algorithm itself, and this also would be either an explanation or one of these two. So the problem is, at least I know that this has to move from 1 to 3 in that order. So you would want to look at whether sentence number 2 or sentence number 4 is an explanation of the topic sentence or is an explanation of the evidence. And that, ladies and gentlemen, cannot obviously be understood by the mere putting the sentence in the structure. It also needs something else here, right? So we also need another skills, but at least I hope that you get a sense in terms of understanding where that is. We need another skills. That skill requires us to identify certain things here. That skill requires identify saying that this is talking about it encourages. Right, and if it were connected to the topic sentence, explain the topic sentence. The topic sentence talks about difficult concepts. Concepts, that is plural. This is singular. So if this would have been explaining it should have used the word they. So this is actually not explaining the sentence. So this is actually not explaining this one. The 2 is actually explaining the evidence. The 2 is actually explaining the evidence. So that's what we need to understand from there. And we look at number 4. We can only see some sort of basic principle. We can't see the algorithm. What algorithm are we talking about? The algorithm. We can't see the algorithm itself, making it hard for citizens to analyze in systems and so on and so forth. Then you look at which algorithm. Which one needs? I need something that explain what is algorithm, what is the algorithm, which means that's a specific algorithm that talking about. Who gives algorithm, ladies and gentlemen? The Twitter gives algorithm, which means, ladies and gentlemen, this particular sentence is also an explanation to the evidence and not the explanation to the topic sentence, ladies and gentlemen. So that also goes away, which means that's where it is. And then you saw that okay, by 2 and 4 would be the explanation. Then you know for sure that okay, now I understand it has to be 1 and then going to 3, and in some order to 2 and 4. And then you have to look at which comes first, which comes last. Then you start thinking, okay, so we have, this is a good way of to ending impartial and objectivity. We can start with that statement, ending with that is kind of a summary. That's a good way. So 4 is a good end. Also, you would say, for example, if you see, read number 3, Twitter's website say that the tweets you are likely to care about most will show up in the show first in your timeline based on accounts you interact with most, tweets you engage with, and much more. And much more is mentioned here. And the author says it encourages us to in bubbles of people who we know and like while blinding us to a different perspective. But the deeper problem of transparency lies in the word and much more in quote, ladies and gentlemen. So there is a direct connection from here to here that I can see from here to here. There's a direct connection there. So this is a general statement in that sense of what Twitter says. This is specific to the specific thing that is there for the specific thing, getting deeper into the whole discussion. Therefore, that should be the order. So which means what we had to do, not just understanding the function, we also need one more skill to connect all these things together, to connect stuff together. And this cannot be just a transition, like for instance, for example, we need a second skill as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what is that skill is what we're going to learn. Skill number 2 is our identifying sentence indicators. What indicates sentence? I need to understand some indicators which tells me, is it explaining the evidence, it is an explanation, is it a topic sentence, is it a transition sentence? I need to understand indicator which tells me what is the function. When I understand the function, then based on the development idea, I can sequence the whole thing in the right order, starting with a general explanation, getting into more specific. That is usually the case. So what are the sentence indicators that we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen? This is something that we discussed. We discussed echo words, ladies and gentlemen. If you remember, we discussed transition link, we discussed pronoun links, but I'm also going to talk about a new thing, need aid words. Let me explain what these are. Okay, let me explain one by one. So what are echo words? Echo words are repeating keywords in a paragraph, is an important technique for achieving cohesion. The repeating keywords which also helps us understand what is the whole subject that is talking about. The repeating keyword in this case, you can see method, method, ladies and gentlemen, method. The method is in every goddamn sentence. And then you have the concept of acting, actors, who does actors, and then you have actors get repeated. So this is getting a quotes. When you read the paragraph, automatically, unconsciously, this word keep okay, method. The whole thing is about method acting. Whichever order this passage would have given to you, I would have probably given you, let's say, in the order of 2, 3, 1, 4, 5. Let's say I would have given in this particular order. Even if it's, let's say, started by reading 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, you keep hearing method, and get a sense that the whole thing is talking about method acting. And then I can start looking at which is the sentence that kind of gives me the whole thing. So one is a code word. The second is a kind of word that need aid. With that, need aid is word in a sentence that need an introduction from some other sentence. Okay, so there are words which need aid and something. For example, for me to say in this particular case, I don't see too many of those kind of words here. Too many of the words here. So for example, this word here, to do it well. So to do it well. So this support has been created to do it well. We know that you're talking about method acting, so that word needs some aid. So any pronoun by in itself need aid from somewhere else. So you need that particular aid. So need it do well. So that's something that we can look at there. And is there anything else, ladies and gentlemen, that you can pick that you think we need aid? Some sentence. Actors who excel at method acting tend to seek out difficult experiences, and the method is also known now has a bad reputation of licensing some actors often as violence. They will say, at the author of the forthcoming book points that defining a method is a tricky business. There is no consensus given to the word definition of the word. I told me in this particular. So if I look at definition of the method and the defining the method, so it's kind of saying that having no consensus definition of the method needs that aid from the other one. So I need to introduce the whole thing, defining the method, to see that I need an aid from it. So aid are like the word that needs some kind of support from somewhere else, or the sentence, the words that need something from here. Words that need interpretation. By definition, the pronouns of the word. Let's say if I say it, what is the it is we talking about? It needs some reference point for somewhere else. So that's something like that. So you could also look at transition links, for example. These are the things that we discussed here. So to just to look at this one, see what are the look at it from the perspective of the CAT 2018 slot one. You look at the echo words, impartiality and objectivity. Can you see here? Impartiality and objectivity is something that we can see here. So is there any other echo word that echoes transparently? I can see transparency. That's another word that I can see here. Do I see transparency? Do I see okay, fairly would be also another word to be transparent. So it's all thing about impartial, objectivity, transparently, and then you can also see this word getting echoed here, and much more. That's an echo word that's said. Within that, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the need aid words. The need aid words is that to discuss here, and much more. It lies in the words much more. This need an aid from a previous discussion of that particular word. You look at, for example, this particular word, see the algorithm. When we read the algorithm, which algorithm are we talking about? Which is the algorithm? Which algorithm are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? The algorithm needs some aid. I cannot start with the sentence that, look, there's a problem with the algorithm. Console, which one? Which algorithm are you talking? From where? Please tell me what algorithm. I will solve your problem. Twitter. Okay, thank you so much. So there you see that that's a support word. So when you look at the need aid words, that also it helps us, ladies and gentlemen, in a lot of way in making the right kind of arrangements. And then of course you have transition link. Unfortunately, the question setter was an evil devil. Question setter was an evil devil who decided that I'm going to make your life very difficult. Let me remove all the transition link. Can you see any transition link that is there? The what we can play around with the pronoun links. I can see pronoun links here. For example, I can see it. That is something that I can look at, and some pronoun links, ladies and gentlemen, can help us. So a paragraph, I cannot at this point in time give you tell you that there is an absolutely strict process of solving paragraph jumble. What I can definitely tell you, and that should be a learning here. What I can definitely tell you is that you would look at two basic skills that we want, and the way in which two basic skills, the two foundations. If I have to actually let's build some basic foundation in terms of what is required to if I have to build some foundations. Let's say if I have to build some basic foundations, that foundation has to start from, am I able to understand the function of the sentence? What is the function of the sentence? To be able to understand the function and role of the sentence, can I also understand the indicators that is given in the sentence to help us figure out what is the function of the particular sentence? Can I slot that in? Once I understand the function and the indicators, the two very basic skills, ladies and gentlemen, then we can start building other stuff onto the whole thing. When you keep on building, then we can add other stuff. We can probably then put the fan, Oops, that's a nice fan that is running, the tube lights and whatever. That can be added, ladies and gentlemen, once we have the foundation and say that, okay, then I look at development, then I look at strategy. But your starting point is to look at functions, indicator of the sentence. Now, what you should do is that I hope you are doing at this point in time a daily exercise. Are you doing your daily exercise that I told you to do of reading article and writing, taking notes? Why don't you also add to your daily exercise or picking up, let's say, from that about 3 to 4 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, just focus on 3 paragraphs and look at the sentences that is there and see, can I identify the function of each of the sentence? Can I identify the indicator? Would you do that every day, ladies and gentlemen? Just do this every single day. You are doing daily exercise of the articles that you're reading every single day. While reading those articles, can I just spend some time, extra bit of time, maybe 1 paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, just to list down what you think is the function of the sentence, and that will go a long way in building the basic skill set to do well for paragraph jumble. In the next lesson is where we're going to deal with strategies, and there we learn much more things that is going to help you deal with paragraph jumble. And at the end of the lesson of paragraph jumble, ladies and gentlemen, you will come out and say, the paragraph jumble, sir, is so easy to do. That's all that we're gonna do today. I hope you are doing okay, doing well, you're enjoying the lessons, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.